Greatness at track number 9. Stay on the right track and let your light shine. Step by step, reach for what's true. Track number 9. Your greatness is waiting for you.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to track number 9. I am so happy to be here. Good morning. Sister Sarah Matthews is here. Clarence Butler is here. Gail Evans is here. I'm just so happy to be with Sister Cheryl from the other coast, the West Coast. We call that the other coast. Good morning, Sister Cheryl Ward. But today, guys, I'm going to hey, good morning, Clarence. But today, what we're going to do is I'm taking a page. Hey, Michelle Johnson, my friend from Job Corps, my friend for life. Brother Robert Stewart is here. What we are going to, Denise, hey, Miss Reed, that's the chaplain here in West Baltimore. Beautiful sister. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. But what we're going to do today is we are going to have a conversation. Now, you know that we have been, hey, Brother Johnny Jones, we have been trying to get this tool together so that you guys would be able to actually call into the studio. And instead of putting your thoughts in the chat, you would actually be able to call in and share your thoughts with all of us, with the viewers and all of the people who would see the show in the future. Because our recordings, you can always, if you ever miss one, you can always click on a link and it is always, hey, Brother Robert Winslow, my man from Rognell Heights, good morning. But you can always click on a link and catch a show. So we are in infinity, if you will. Once this show is recorded, it is here forever. So our words, our actions, and our deeds are forever recorded. And remember that social media, boy, they'll catch you. Don't let nobody put a camera on you and you saying something that you don't want nobody to hear or something that you regret saying. You got to really be mindful of that in this day and time. But what we're going to do is take a page out of Dr. K. Whitehead's book. I listen to her on WEAA every day on my way home from work. What she does is she does a mashup day on the radio where we just talk about different topics. And whatever you put in the link or in the chat that you feel like you want us to cover, then we'll start talking about that. I want to start off this conversation myself with the fact that I actually went into the market and I was getting ready to, do some shopping. I started looking at the items. Sister Roxanne Prettyman, good morning. That's my dear sister. My cousin LaFay Allen, good morning. But I actually went and, hey, Dr. Madison, but I actually went into the market and the prices were so high. I say, damn, I think I might go ahead and just eat tomorrow. Or maybe I'll get something to eat next week. The food was so high that I really considered just turning around and not even purchasing food. Now, everybody needs food. Food is a life-sustaining thing. You need to eat in order to sustain your life. You need to drink water in order to sustain your life. But the food was so high, and I work every day. I was really thinking about, shit, man, maybe I can skip a meal. Maybe I'll fast. Maybe I'll just go in and fast and just not even eat today. So imagine the families that don't have money like that. They working every day. The rent is sky high. They have 3 children. It's so hard. Brother Jerome. Hey, there go my cousin Gregory. Good morning. But anyway, the food is so high that people actually have to make a choice on whether or not they're going to pay BG&E, which they just hiked it. They're getting ready to try to hike it again. Or whether or not they're going to pay the rent, or whether or not they're going to have a little bit of entertainment for their children, a little internet so that they can possibly do their homework. But the stuff is just so high, man. And that's why I say that everything leads to the polls. When you elect these people, these folks are in charge of whether or not they are going to allow our utilities to continue to get hiked up. And if they don't have any control over our utilities, oh yeah, Dr. Madden says she's thinking about just growing her own food. She did that back in the day. That's a strong consideration, especially when we think about solutions, because the folks at BG&E or Pepco or these gas electric companies, they really care about one thing. Their bottom line is capitalism. Their bottom line is money. And all they care about is their shareholders. When I bring $3 million to the table, I'm expecting for you to give me a return on my money. I don't care who's starving. I don't care who goes hungry. I don't care who get put out. That's not my business, you know. So, hey, Monica Watkins is here. Good morning, dear sister. Hey, one of the Divine Nine is here. Hey, namesake. But they really don't care. So we are, feels like the United States and Baltimore and Washington D.C. and Virginia, Mississippi, Alabama. It feels like we are at an inflection point. It feels like something is happening, something is brewing. And if we look at the old videotapes of black folks with water hoses turned on them, you see cases of black people 50, 60 years ago that they were innocent and they were still executed. We see all of that stuff that happened, and it feels like it's happening again when everybody is saying we need jobs and justice. That's what the march was for. Our dear brother Martin Luther King. They was marching, and the tone of the march was jobs and justice. And here we go now again. Jobs and justice. We need somebody in office that's going to stop the companies from overcharging us. We need somebody in office that's going to go back to what used to be called rent control. It had a sunset. Rent control was when you had to put a cap on how much you were charging people for rent. Some people had gotten busted, and they were using the algorithm. Renters, these people who own properties, they was using this algorithm so that all of them could be on the same page with the astronomical rates that they were charging people. They talk to one another. All of them are in this one little group of property owners here in Maryland, here in Baltimore, and across the country. And they all get together and they say, well, Sister Cheryl says we should begin to grow our own food. The food is, yeah, it's genetically modified, late and made in labs. You're absolutely correct. That is one of those solutions. One of the solutions to my problem going into that market and looking and saying, man, I might not be able to eat today, is grow your own food. That is definitely part of the solution. The sister says next time she gets some extra produce, fruit, canned goods, she'll call me. I love you. Sister Denise Reed, man, she beautiful. She with Moms Demand Action. And again, she's a chaplain with Baltimore City Police and a beautiful sister. I appreciate that. I ain't ashamed. Look, I need a little help over here and I work every day. But again, it all leads back to the polls and who we are going to put in office that's going to help us to get rid of genetically modified food. They had this huge case on a federal level with, I think it was they called Monsanto's. And Monsanto's, oh wow, Delegate Addison is here. Congratulations on winning your re-election, Delegate Addison. Congratulations. Hopefully we will get our call-in feature working. We working on it because I really want to actually hear from you guys, from Delegate Addison and from all of the people that get up first thing Saturday morning, winter, spring, summer, or fall. You guys are willing to get up and join me. So that 1 hour, it means so much to me. And of course, I'm a heart attack survivor, so it means even more. I'm still here. And even though my man Kenneth Ginyard asked me, said, Monica, you ain't all twisted up, is you? Thought that was funny. I didn't have a stroke. I had a heart attack, and no, I'm not twisted up. I'm still with that same beautiful smile and still just as happy as I was before I had the heart attack. But anyway, solution oriented is pointing to that case that they had, and always bring a pen. And if you can write it down, Google Monsanto's and do some research on it. Monsanto's was this huge company that had genetically modified seeds, right? And they put the seeds in the ground. And what happens is when the wind blows, the wind will take the seed, it pollinates, and the seeds will go to the next farm and start to pollinate those seeds. So what they were able to do was they were able to seize the man's farm and land because they said that those crops were their crops because they were their seeds. Sister Cheryl says those apartment owners did what the cigarette companies did when they all decided to add nicotine to addict the masses. Yes, indeed. And that's crazy. It's always these corporations that has gotten us in this situation. And we need leadership that's not going to take money from the corporations. Monsanto's have took these people's farm. They actually took their land because they went to court and they, for some kind of way, was able to prove that the seeds that grew that food was Monsanto seeds, and they took the people's land. That's crazy. Genetically modified seeds. They were growing tomatoes and some other stuff, and Monsanto's took these people's land. And it was the court system that allowed them to do that. So when we think about Supreme Court right now, in order for us to have the type of Supreme Court that we have, somebody had to get elected to office and somebody had to appoint those people. So guess what? If the elections had turned out different, we would not have the Supreme Court that we have. So guess what? Again, it all goes back to elections and who we put in office. Because we're just in a bad way. Supreme Court is making all kinds of rulings that are, it just works against us in every way that you can think about. Right now we would not be having a war with Iran over the Strait of Hormuz. Again, it all leads back to elections. And even though we're here in Baltimore, my good friend Cheryl, she's in Los Angeles. We got my home girl from Job Corps. She's over there in the DC area. Um, oh yeah, that's the Monsanto's Wikipedia link. Okay, thank you. But the war that's happening right now. Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. My good friend, Miss Anita from up in the Allendale community has joined us. My good friend, Collie Thomas. I love you guys. Um, but the Monsanto's case and all of those cases, it all leads back to the elections. The Strait of Hormuz. Oh, wait a minute. Sister's talking about the turnout for the primary elections. Yes, elections were really low. I think in Maryland we had maybe 12 to 15% turnout, which is insane. But the Strait of Hormuz would not be happening if we did not have the president that we have, if people had voted different. And I'm not one on this show to tell a person how to vote. I'm just saying vote. I don't care who you vote. I always tell you shit. You can vote, excuse my French. You can vote for Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Goofy, or Barney. Just vote. That's all. Just vote. Exercise your vote. But I'm gonna give you a little background on the Strait of Hormuz prior to 2026 February. Prior to the 2026 attacks, the Strait of Hormuz was the world's most vital energy and maritime choke point. Roughly 1/5 of global oil consumption, that's about 20 million barrels per day, and a vast amount of liquefied natural gas pass through the narrow 21-mile passage daily. This passage is only 20. Oh, sister say that they give away produce up at the church. Thank you, Sister Roxanne. Everybody take that information down. Yep. And she's a great cook. She prepares that food up there, man. You'll be going to church every Sunday. You get a taste of that food, Sister Roxanne be cooking at that church. 1300 Fulton Avenue. But the natural gas passed through there. It's only 21 miles. That's not long. 21 miles of water has shut down the whole world, not just the United States. The whole world is being shut down by this little air, this passageway of water. The water and the water and accommodated an average of 138 ships daily, serving as the primary petroleum artery for Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates. 138 ships. Hey, Sarah Citroni, good morning. Yeah, she says educate on the platforms. Vote for the candidates who are truly for the things that matter. And that's true, Sarah. One thing that people do is they don't educate themselves on the voters. They don't, I mean, on the candidates. They just come out, whoever they see the most commercials, you see the most signs, they'll go and vote for that person without educating themselves about who that voter is. But Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, they mainly get their petroleum through the Strait of Hormuz, and about 138 ships pass through there a day. However, what people don't realize, and unfortunately our own government, they saying, well, that's not really our problem. It doesn't affect us. And it do, because of global trading. Most of the stuff that we have in this country, it came from somewhere else. You got, whether it's Samsung, whether it's iPhones, televisions, couches, pictures, medication. So much of this stuff comes from other places and it's not made in the United States. So that means that you have to have petroleum for the ship. You got to have petroleum for the ship. If you don't have petroleum for the ships, your stuff can't get here. It'll sit there. I remember the Suez Canal. A boat had tried to get through there. The Suez Canal is this big. And I mean, it is narrow. And a ship was just this big, and it had got stuck. And it was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ships that could not get through for months on top of months. And people's medication went up. Sister Shanice Anderson is here, 41st District. She says the Electoral College is also an issue. I certainly agree with that. But getting back to, hey, my cousin Lolita is here. Good morning. But getting back to this Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz, prior to 2026, earlier this year, those waters were governed by the Omani Territorial Law, OMANI, Omani Territorial Law. The Sultan of Oman controls the air, land, sea, and it's governed by Islamic Sharia law. So there's always been an unspoken law that area was governed by Oman, the Omani Territorial Law. So they said, well, ships used to be able to go through there for free or whatever. I don't know about that part of my research, but I do know that prior to Israel pushing the United States to bomb Iran, which I thought was just crazy. They pushed us into that, to bomb those people and to join the United States in this crusade to overthrow the Ayatollah Khomeini. They end up killing him. They killed the Ayatollah. They killed his wife and I think some of his family members. However, his son steps up and is now the new Ayatollah. So the so-called regime change, which I always think is wrong, for any person or any country to go into a sovereign nation and say, well, we don't like your government. We don't like how it's being run, and we don't like that guy. So we are going to assassinate him and kill him, and we're going to put in somebody that we do like. So what we end up with is not only is there not a regime change, but now you have the Ayatollah's son, who naturally is hurt. He's angry and probably ready to get back. He wants some get back because you killed his father. So the whole thing is just it's just crazy. And It led me, all that foolishness they doing over there, led me to say, well, damn, I might not eat today. Maybe I got a can of tuna fish that I can put together, put some boiled eggs in it, and have me a pack of oodles and noodles. But it is just a shame that what the leadership is doing is hurting families. And I mean, it is hurting families. We might not see what's going on behind closed doors, but I can only talk about my own experience. And I know that if I only have two dogs, even though they're expensive too, shit, I might go ahead and sell two of them. But nah, I ain't gonna sell my baby. But it's so expensive for me as a single woman, the owner of two dogs, to put food in my refrigerator. I can only imagine what the challenge is with people who have children. And some of them boys, my God, boys, whew, my grandmother used to say, I'd rather clothe you than feed you. Because you get a 12-year-old or 13-year-old boy, he can eat 2 boxes of damn cereal by himself. He will sit down there with a Tupperware bowl and make himself one bowl of cereal, and that's damn near a whole box of cereal. You looking like damn. Or they'll come back to you after you've given them breakfast. You give them 5 pancakes, 3 eggs, 5 strips of bacon, and next thing you know, he come back and say, "I'm hungry," and you look like, boy, you just ate. Little boys, males can really eat a lot. So putting food in a person's house and feeding your children, it is it's challenging. It really is. And on top of that, now we have changes to how families can get assistance. In order to get food stamps, you have to either be involved in a training program, you can be involved in a drug treatment program, or you have to be working in order to get food stamps, or you have to be like in college or in school or something like that. But those are there's three main requirements, and outside of that, you're not going to get assistance. They send some of the seniors that's getting, their retirement and stuff like that. They might send them $11 worth of food stamps. That's crazy. And these people are barely making it. Hey, brother Ronnie, like my main man, don't forget if you need to get in shape or if you need your car detailed, get in touch with my man Ronnie Smith. He in the chat right now. Hit him up. He like that. He's like that. I'm telling you. But yeah, it's hard. So with this low voter turnout, like Sister Monica Watkins had said, Delta. But yeah, she's one of the Delta, one of the Divine Nine. But like she had said, the voting turnout was so low. It was so low. And then to move on to yet another subject, I'm gonna take y'all into what I had mentioned about a week or so ago. Right here on Lombard Street, the Department of Justice came to town to our federal court building, and they said that they want Maryland's voting rolls. They want every a list of every single person that has voted in like the past 10 years or something like that. Imagine those people having your information. And they claim it's because they feel like elections are not fair here and something's going on with the elections. I had spoke with a sister, and I told her I might, consider actually making a request, uh, um, information, a federal information act request, right? Because I feel like the voters in Baltimore and in Maryland need to know who made that mistake to send 500,000 ballots out to the wrong people. All of the Republican ballots went to the Democrats. All of the Democrat ballots. Hey, the National Court Watch folks is here. Dr. Carmen Johnson. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Sister doing wonderful work. Sisters doing wonderful work. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Carmen Johnson. Appreciate you. But I was considering, and I am considering, making a request to find out who was responsible for doing that. How do you send all of these people requested mail-in ballots? The Republican mail-in ballots you sent to the Democrats, and the Democrat ballots you sent to the Republicans. I personally feel like it was done intentionally. I feel like whoever did this intentionally, and I could be wrong. But whatever the case may be, we really should know who did that. We're not going to go to the person's house and throw rotten tomatoes at them. We just feel like that is information that we should know. And not only should we know that, what are you doing to make sure that that don't happen again? But that triggered the administration, the current administration at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. That triggered them to say, well, let's go and send out people to Maryland. And what they have done is our Attorney General, Anthony Brown, they have threatened him with arrests. They threatened to arrest him, and they threatened to arrest anybody in his office or anybody that worked for the State Board of Elections who they claim knowingly have people voting that's not supposed to vote. Now, all of this is boiling down to people are voting in our elections that's not supposed to vote. That is a lie. That is a lie. The number, when they did the audit and did all of the research, the numbers show that it's like 0.2%. It has happened. And it mainly happens with Republicans. I don't understand. One guy had voted for his mother. His mother was deceased. Another Republican guy voted in Arizona, and then he went and voted somewhere in Texas, but he voted in like 3 different places. But the number is so low that you can't say that we have a significant problem with people who are immigrants in the country who are don't have voting rights. You cannot vote if you don't have a social security card, birth certificate. You just cannot. You cannot register. Well, I don't know what the process is. I'm not even going to say that I do. But I do know that all the research has been done, and no, people are not voting illegally. But they went last year, about in the middle of the year, I think her name is Christy Nome, the lady who's out now, the lady who had came on television, talked about how she had killed her dog. It was some real sick stuff. But anyway, I believe it was Christy Nome that went to Fulton County, Georgia. And she went there, and they had all their guns and everybody. Good morning. My cousin Marquez here. Good morning. Oh, I'm always so happy to see my family join me. But they went to Fulton County, Georgia. And I don't know if you guys remember Fulton County, Georgia. Fulton County, Georgia was front and center about 2 years ago because Fonnie Willis had accused Donald Trump of trying to interfere with the elections. What he did was he had called a guy named Rathlisberger, and he was at the time called him. He was at the time, I think, the governor or somebody. I forget his role, or even he was the head of the election board down there. But he called him and said, all I need to find is 11,000 such and such votes. And he indicated that he wanted this man to find him those votes so that he can win so he can win Georgia, because he lost Georgia. And she had him on the rope. She had all the evidence. She had the phone calls, everything. And she ends up on trial herself, which was really disappointed because she had a so-called inappropriate relationship with one of the guys that she had hired in her office. That was the strongest case they had against the current president. They had another strong case against him in New York, Letitia James. She was successful in her endeavors, but they've been coming after her ever since. They tried to prosecute her, claiming that she had did something concerning her home and a mortgage or something. Now, that's low-hanging fruit. They went after our sister Marilyn Mosby for some foolishness like that. Sister says she's sending a flyer about food distribution dates happening at 2501 Spring Hill Avenue, Delta Center. All right. She's unable to attach it here, but she'll send it to me. And of course, you can always go to info at marylandjusticeproject.org if you need any information, if you need any resources, anything that we discuss, you want to follow up on it, info at marylandjusticeproject.org. Or if you yourself want to be a guest on the show, you can always come there. But and I'm man, I'm chomping at the bit to have this call in feature, because I know you guys have plenty to say about these issues. But they had him on the ropes in New York and was successful. But in Fulton County, Georgia, they went down there and they seized 700 boxes, like physical boxes. They actually took 700 boxes of the actual votes, the voting paper. They actually took it. I said, damn, man. So it seems like the administration is going from state to state, particularly blue states, so areas that are blue, and trying to seize the elections. And I said, well, maybe the current president won't leave office. I seem to think, and this is my own personal opinion, I seem to think that he's not going to leave office. I don't think so. I think that the ballroom that's being built now, I think it's got all kinds of underground tunnels and stuff like that. And I believe it's going to operate just like a drug cartel, or just like somewhere in the Middle East where they claim Saddam Hussein was hiding out in a cave. But I just don't, I think it's going to be all different types of ways for him to come in and out of that ballroom without ever being seen. And I think the military might just pull a coup. I think the military just might support him. He has put all of these things in place in the military, in all our different branches of government, to make it possible, if he wanted to, he could actually stay and disregard the Constitution, because the Constitution says you can only run for 2 terms. And that don't mean back to back. That just means 2 terms. You can never be president more than 2 terms. But I personally don't think the guy's leaving office. I just don't. And we have a little less than 2 years to find out. The next presidential election is 2028. So keep your eyes peeled, keep a pen, take notes on how the president is pushing for what they call national elections. National elections is where the federal government controls the elections. The federal government controls the machines. The federal government would be responsible for collecting the ballots. The federal government would be responsible for counting the ballots. Imagine that. Imagine a president that still say that he won in 2020. He still tell his people, I was the president in 2020. I did not lose that election. Imagine that. Imagine this information I'm getting ready to give you. Kirsten, I believe her name is Kirsten Gillibrand. I believe she represents outside of New York City, up there. I believe she's a congresswoman. But Kirsten Gillibrand, in her district, she won, a certain amount of points, but Kamala Harris got 0 votes. She got 0 votes. So that kind of triggered a red flag, because generally people vote up and down the ballot. If they would vote for a Democratic congresswoman, a Democratic council person, Democratic mayor, then most likely they would vote for a Democratic president. They vote up and down the ballot. They wouldn't vote for all these people that say, but I'm not voting for her. That's not generally how it worked. But the machines, the way it ended up tallying, she got 0 votes. Vice President Kamala Harris got 0 votes in this particular district. And that's impossible. At least 5 daggone people would have. Yeah, sisters say he gets his way in such a bullish way. Yeah, he's very bullish, and not only that, but he know how to strong arm people. This current vote, they got this policy that he trying to pass called Save America Act. And the Save America Act is his effort to nationalize the elections and to really change the game. And at first, it was people, Republicans saying, "I ain't doing that, man. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that," because they had a bill that was for housing to make housing more affordable, and they said, "Well, we need to concentrate on this." But by the time he finished talking to them and punching them in the face and threatening them, all of them voted for it. So yeah, he knows his audience and he knows that they are weak as water. And whatever he say, they're gonna go along with it. So that's why I said if he was to try and stay in office, there's nothing really to stop him. Supreme Court won't step up. Good morning, Mr. Pope. How you doing? Good morning, Oliver. But Supreme Court wouldn't step up and do anything because we've seen all of these rulings coming down from Supreme Court that it just put people in like wow, wow. But President Biden, he had a chance to do what they call stack the court. When he was in office, it was people who were urging. We have 9 justices now. It actually used to be 7. It used to be 7. Now it's 9. So it's not like you can't increase it. I think they were saying increase the number to 13 to stack the court, so it could be a little more, I don't know, a little more balanced, a little more fair. Because what's coming out of Supreme Court is just not, it's just not right. That Citizens United ruling was bad, and they just had another ruling. I forget what it's called, but it continues to allow corporations to spend as much money as they want to on these elections. Elon Musk had interfered in one of those elections in the South, and I think he had put up about $300 million for this one particular candidate. And yeah, the corporations is helping is helping this disaster, if you will. Um, but I do want to, because it is mashup. Hey, Lynette Chroma, good morning. How you doing? I'm happy you can join us. I do want to switch a little bit and come, back, get away from national elections, and encouraging you guys to vote. And yeah, because my food is high, and I don't really want to be on a fast unless it's a voluntary fast. I don't want to fast because I ain't got no damn food. That's crazy. But it is very high, man. I'm gonna find a way. But I want to switch locally here in Baltimore and just briefly talk about this high-profile case that's going to be occurring soon because they arrested a 14-year-old who stole his aunt's car and he hit and killed a 3-year-old. Um, the incident happened in Southwest Baltimore at Pratt and Monroe Street, down there where they sell the crabs at and everything. The crab houses are down there. And it's just, I went yesterday to the viewing and it was just so sad and so hard to hear people talk about how beautiful this child was. Just a beautiful soul. 3 years old. 3 years old. And she's gone because a 14-year-old stole a car. And I'm like, man, this was a tough one. And I think what makes it difficult is when you look at the 14-year-old child, and from what I've heard, that he wasn't no really bad kid. He just saw an opportunity to snatch his aunt keys and go joyriding. He wasn't stealing the car to commit a crime because a lot of these young kids, when they steal cars to commit crimes because it's not their car, so they can go and rob somebody. They can do whatever it is they want because when they trace the tags, it's going to be traced back to somebody else. So, a lot of the young people are stealing cars to commit crimes, but they claim that this was really, he wasn't a bad kid. He wasn't in the streets. He wasn't doing none of those things. So, I don't know. I think it makes the decision of how do you punish the kid based on, his character. But that's how the law is. The law says that you kind of, have to take in consideration the individual, not just the crime itself, but you got to look at the individual. That's why everybody get different amount of time. Some people have a vehicular manslaughter charge and get 5 years, and some people might get a sentence outside of that because they took the car and intentionally tried to hit and kill somebody. You know what I mean? And then the other person might have a accident. They might have been drinking and might have accidentally hit somebody. But that's going to be one of those cases, man, where it's tough to sentence a child to a harsh time in prison with some pretty tough people, man. Those guys behind the wall, man, they can be pretty tough, and they are unforgiving. They don't care if you 12, 14, they don't care. You in here, so you're a man. You obviously, did something that, adults would do or whatever. But that's it's a tough case, and charging juveniles and trying to get the juvenile crime under control is always a sticky situation because one, the victims of these crimes, in more cases than not, they don't care that they're a child. Really don't. They want justice for their children, for themselves. And then the people who know the child know that the mother been working 2 jobs. She's been doing her best to try to keep him out of trouble. His father got shot and killed in the streets, and those are the circumstances he finds himself in. So it's really tough, and I'm keeping the family in prayer. And I don't know. I would like to know what your thoughts are. Like how, and put it in the chat. How do we get our juveniles under control and get them out of the streets? Two, and in an incident like this, when they do commit crimes, how do we address that? Do we give them the rest of their life behind the wall, or do we give them time behind the walls and say, but we feel like this person can be rehabilitated? Because when you give them the rest of their life in prison, that says that there is no redemption qualities in the person. That says that this person will never change, and we don't need them on our streets. And I kind of feel like, most people will change, and most people will come home and do the right thing and will be a part of society and will pay taxes and buy homes and be the neighbors that you want them to be. Not all, because some people just sick in their head, and they have other things going on that will keep them constantly committing, crime and whatnot, right? But I always seem to think that with children, when you give them a life sentence, that says that they have no redemptive qualities. And in the juvenile system, one of the reasons why advocates want children to be tried as children is because, unlike adults, children do have a capacity to change. Brother Delmont said, "Be heartbreaking." Yeah, brother, it is, because it's a tough situation. Brother Delmont, player, man, he'll tell you he got a hell of a story. He home doing well. Yeah, my man just got married. Congratulations. He's doing well. Praise be to Allah. And he definitely can share his experience with younger brothers, and it does help. When they have mentors and people who already been down that road, if we can get them to we our us and get them to places, to people like Brother Delmont, it will definitely help. Dr. Carmen says more generational trauma informed preventive services and more diversion programs. That is an excellent, excellent, excellent idea. Education, love, and consistency, Brother Delmont says, but definitely the diversion and prevention. I'm telling you, I've had a family member that had, raising this young man and kept taking him to the Department of Juvenile Services and say, listen, my child is going down the wrong path. We need some help over here. Brother said life in prison for a child doesn't solve anything. I agree. But the people at the Department of Juvenile Services told her, unless he commits a crime, it's nothing that we can do. That's crazy. You know your kid, you see your kid. All of a sudden, he starts hanging out with little Joe Blow. And you say, what you doing? Then he start coming to the house with money. Then he start being disrespectful. Sarah Citroni says juvenile detention makes children worse. It's not an answer. Diversion programs, community centers. It takes a village. Let's bring back the community. I agree. I agree, Sarah. And I think we can start by asking that our Department of Juvenile Services and Governor Westmore and Brandon Scott, which I think is actually doing pretty good, but to ask these people to start spending money on the front end. Start spending money on the front end. Don't tell people, well, there's nothing that we can do for you unless he commits a crime. The child should not have to be in a system in order to get help. They should have money and funds dedicated to preventive programming. And that's something that as voters, well, I hope you vote because I do. But as voters, that's something that we should put on the books. Our next election, we should ask them, do you have a budget? And how much will it be for preventive measures before these children get in the system? That's something that we should ask them. Put that on their report card. And when they do get elected, then you bring that report card out and say, hey, remember you said this. You 6 months in, you ain't done it yet. You a year in, you haven't done it yet. And once they get a failing report card, we replace them. Simple as that. They need a report card. I talked to a couple of local churches about it. And I'm hoping that we can get that report card together and provide one report card, not a whole bunch, one report card. Maybe Delegate Addison will work with me to get that one report card together. And before you go in, we present you, this is what we want. And if they say, okay, I'll do that. Guess what? When we get them elected, 6 months in, you know how they have the first 100 days of the president. When the president come in office, they have this thing, a first 100 days of what he's done in his first 100 days. We need to do that with our elected officials, especially when it comes to issues like funding the Department of Juvenile Services for preventive measures. When it comes to our seniors, we need to add that. I know Sister Sarah Matthews will be all for that, to put on that report card different things that we want to see with our seniors on that report card. And I swear, I hope the churches, I've talked to 2-3 different churches so far about helping me put this report card together. But when you got on a report card for the seniors, me personally, I don't think that seniors should be housed with men and women who are survivors of gunshots. One, I'm grateful to Allah that these people are still here, whether they're in a wheelchair or not. But when you put a 23-year-old gunshot survivor in a senior building, it's a terrible mix. Because the 23-year-old, he still got some street in him. He's selling his perks. They're giving him perks for pain. He's selling his pills. Some of the elders might be in there getting a number 5 perk for their arthritis. Next thing you know, he robbing the 80-year-old for their pills. And it just brings an element that older people really don't need. So putting those individuals in their own space, I don't think that elders, and you should be a certain age to live in this building. You got a 23-year-old, somebody that's 30, and you got a 70-year-old. That's no. That don't work. I just don't think it's a good idea. So I would add that to your report card. How are you going to make sure that seniors have their own space? Our sister Monica Walker said it was a discrimination case against housing authority as to why we can't have just wow. See, I didn't even know that. That's why I love you guys. You guys are so smart. Yeah, and that's crazy. I guess you're discriminating against a younger person for not. Nah, man, we gonna work that one out. That's gonna be on our report card. But I'm gonna keep on trying to employ the churches. I'm gonna go around again, try to talk to a couple more churches, and we're gonna come up with one report card, and we can get insight from everybody. And that report card will go out to all of the candidates, all of them, and the incumbents, to say this is our report card. And when they win, we're gonna follow up, because what we don't do is we don't follow up. We just had elections here, and these are primary elections. We'll have our general elections in November, but most of the people know that once you win, because we're in a democratic, space, once those people who win during the primaries, chances are they are going to be your elected officials. But I think we might be able to come up with that bad boy before this year is out, and to be able to take that report card and give that to these folks. Sister Sarah said, but in certain communities, they don't have mixed use buildings. I bet in certain communities, they only have older adults. And I just think it's a terrible idea. Yeah. She says most of the mixed use buildings are in African American communities. But I hope you guys like that idea of producing that report card, because most of the time they'll do what you want them to do, especially if they know that you are the group that voted for them. The group that vote for them is the group that gets the most. So in certain communities, when you call for a street light to get fixed, it's done. When you call for a pothole, it's done, because they look at the numbers. They can see the areas that voted. It's called a van. And a van is this is my Atlantic. I love this little magazine. The Atlantic magazine has actually been around for 169 years. But they take the van, and I shared it with y'all before. The van is a list of voters. And the van, you can separate the van to super voters, which are voters who vote in every election. You can separate the van voters who voted in the last 3 elections. You can separate the van and say the voter who voted, 10 years ago, whatever. So that's how they call you. I called a couple of y'all and said, hey, you better vote for me. But anyway, I had access to the van, and I was, making phone calls to people in the 40th district. But that's how they get your information, so they know who vote. It's no secret. If I ask y'all right now who voted, you don't have to tell me, because I can always look at the list and find out. Oh yeah, sister said I welcome an older adult report card, especially in housing and transportation. And let's not forget security and older adults advocates. Yes, ma'am. I keep y'all up to date on how far we've made it with the report card, and which communities will go in to get buy-in, what we should have on the report card. Because I want everybody to be able to say, I know what I want on there. And I know what some of the local churches have said, but I want everybody to be able to do it. So we probably just take it on the road and go to east, west, north, and south, and just get everybody to come. And we just take the suggestions, and we'll come up with that report card. I think I got an appointment with 2 more churches coming up, so we'll see. But I was saying that you don't have to say whether or not you voted, because the van do, and that's why the political leadership will come to your church or come to your organization, but they're not really paying your ass no attention, because they know that the 10 or 15 people that's there, they know they didn't vote. So they don't really, you can't make or break them. You didn't help put them in office, and you damn sure can't help take them out. So the people who help put you in office, that's who they respond to. So once we get that report card together, get that, strong voting block that I've been pushing, they will respond. But the report card is how you keep them on task, because they say so much. Half that stuff I forget. But I be trying. Where my little cards at? Here go one of them right here. Here go one. This one is from a Marlon Anfrey. And these are all of the things on the back that Marlon Anfrey says. We have made history progress in Baltimore the last 4 years. Today, our city is safer and some other stuff, but they put all this stuff together on here. And most of the time, I save them because if it ever get to a point, I'll be able to point to and say, hey, remember you said that you was going to vote for more funding for the Department of Juvenile Services. Whatever happened with that? Give us an update. And if you can't come to us and say, well, we were able to give them $20 million for help with single mothers with children, for help with single mothers for children with programming. And this program would allow them to come home from school. Hey, good morning, State versus Us. Hi, Tia. How you doing this morning, Tia? But the report card would help us to be able to keep track and for us to be able to see what we're getting for our vote. Because people be like, well, why should I vote? I ain't getting nothing out of it. Shit, boy, I know people that was paying, I don't know how much money for diabetic medication. And they capped it. So yeah, you did get something out of it. Your mother's medication isn't so high. When you get tax breaks for your children, when you got children and they give you that earned income tax, you get like 2,500 or something like that. So it went up to 5,000 at one point. So people are benefiting from some of the work of elected officials, but elected officials don't know how to translate that to people, and people not understanding how you are benefiting from it. But I tell you what, when you get certain people in office, you see what you're not getting. You see things are getting worse for you. You can see that. That's for sure. You can see your gas going up. You can see your food going up. You can see the erasure of Black history. You can see 300 to 400,000 Black women fired from the federal government. You can see that. And it's other things that you should be able to see, but you got to be involved in order for you to know how you benefited, how you did not benefit. And in order for you to know what it is you want out of your leaders, you need a guide. You need a report card. I think the League of voters, women voters, they do like a guide. They do like an election guide, and it gives you a little information about each one of the candidates, which I think is a pretty good idea. But the report card is even better, so that we can say, as voters, as track number 9 voters, imagine us a whole bunch of damn track number 9 voters raising hell. I would love that though. They already know. All of these elected officials in this town that know me, they know I will raise some you know what when it comes to doing the right thing and helping out folks. So they already know what they're gonna get when it comes to me. I'm gonna always be genuine, I'm gonna always be true, and I can't be bought. So if we can harness this power, I'll be glad to lead the pack. But I think that we can and we will do better. I think that the positive things that's happening, we have to look at it, because when God wake us up every day, we can't always hover on the negative. We think, man, I woke up, I'm in my right mind. See, my grandmother, rest her soul, but my grandmother was that type of person. I'm in my right mind. I got food on my table. I got a roof over my head. So to see what we have, so we don't suffer from that lack. I don't have. We actually have a whole lot more than some people. And with that, we look forward to gaining more. That's how I look at it. And I look forward to meeting with you guys again next week. I can't tell you how much I love you. Shoot, I get up every morning, every Saturday morning. There's 52 Saturdays out of a year that I come just to say I love you, and just to get you caught up on what's going on in our communities and in our nation, because I love you and I love us. And that's what's going to get us through. We're going to stay on track. We're going to keep getting connected on these tracks and watch what God do for us. Watch how lovely God's going to bless us. So just stay encouraged, and always take this information and follow it up. I'm not always 100%. If I misquoted or said something, that's not true, send it to information at Maryland Justice Project, info at Maryland Justice Project, and I will certainly make that correction. Or if you can add to anything that we've talked about, that would be good. But I love you, family. I love my folks. I love you guys. I love you all. I love you, Delegate Addison. Always a fantastic leader. And I can't tell you what this 1 hour every Saturday mean to me. I'm not gonna cry. But it means so much to me that God would choose me to work on our behalf. To be of service to people is a blessing. To be of service to people is a blessing. So when God chooses you, do your thing. So thank you. Talk to you soon, Brother Johnny Jones. I talk to you, our guy Wayman Ushery. Welcome home. I'm so happy that Brother Usher's home. And again, the last thing I want to say is at August 22nd, out Drew Hill Park, we're going to have the first Monday Empowerment Group. It's going to be a whole bunch of people there, man. When you look around, you're talking about 2,000 and 3,000 years that folks have spent behind the wall. These people are doing such great things. And these are the people that you want returning to your community, being your neighbor, being mentors to your kids, keeping us on the right track. God didn't throw people away because they made a mistake. He worked with them, and you get a chance to see the work that they're doing. So join us August the 22nd out Drew Hill Park. We'll have more information. In fact, we're going to have Brother Johnny Jones come on the show as we get closer to that date. And I love you guys, and God bless you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
We inspire greatness at track number 9. Stay on the right track and let your light shine. Step by step, reach for what's true. Track number 9, your greatness is waiting for